Good morning, friends. We have a wedding today. That is at 10 o'clock, or at least I'm meeting Liam at 10 o'clock. So we have to keep this pretty quick, pretty short and sweet. Two things. One, hug your friends, tell them you love them, tell them you care about them. Make sure that you keep them in your life as long as you can, and that you are aware of how precious that is. What I want to talk about today is a situation that came up recently. So a little while ago, they were doing like career day or future you day at my stepson's school. And one of the explicit rules was that nobody could go as a YouTuber. And I thought that was interesting. I kind of get it, but I kind of push back against it. And I want to explore that a little bit and how that relates to my photography. So basically the school said like nobody is allowed to come as a YouTuber because then everybody would just come as a YouTuber. And that's probably true to an extent. I mean, I'm sure there's some kids that would be like, I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a doctor. I want to be I don't know. When I was a kid, I wanted to study marine law. YouTube didn't exist then though. So I don't know. But what it got me thinking about was this idea of how much people kind of look down on that idea. Like, oh, every kid just wants to be a YouTuber now. And they say it with such derision. And I think it's really interesting because in my mind, like I get that to a degree. Like you have kids who, you know, if I went to my 8-year-old and I said, why do you want to be a YouTuber? Because he does. He would say, well, because I can make lots of money and I'll have tons of followers and it's really cool. And those would be like his answers, right? And those, as you get older, you realize, well, those aren't like great answers, you know? Like, there's nothing wrong with wanting money. There's nothing wrong with wanting, you know, I don't want to say fame, but there's nothing wrong with wanting recognition for the hard work you do and stuff like that. But it's just like, you know, leave not your treasures where moth and rust doth corrupt. I can understand why teachers would be kind of uncomfortable with that idea of like promoting that. But the thing that's cool about YouTube, and we know this as adults who stare into cameras and talk, and maybe adults who listen to people talk, what we know is that YouTube is kind of changing the game for creativity. YouTube is creating an opportunity for anyone who can operate a camera basic. Like this is a GoPro sitting on a cheap little tripod from Elonzi. It's actually really good, by the way. Link below. I don't know if I'll remember to do that, to be honest. But it's making it so that it's democratizing things, right? Anybody who is creative and has a voice and has something interesting they want to talk about, or doesn't, to be honest, has a fair shake. They can get online, they can present what they do, whether that's filmmaking, whether that's photography, whether that's car stuff, whether that's history, whether that is, you know, tax tips, whatever it is, they can get on there and they can use their creativity and they can make a living for themselves. There's this whole class of like YouTube middle class. You know, there's people who are making, you know, through their YouTube channel, $50,000, $60,000 a year, which is awesome. That's helping them get by. And, you know, there's also lots of them that are making no money. And that's what I mean by like democratization. Like ultimately, if you create something really interesting and people resonate with it, you'll get views. If you don't, you won't. And people can say like, oh, well, the algorithm's against me, or like, you know, it feels like it's constantly changing and there's no way to keep up and stuff. But I think that's much more of a thing with other platforms. Like to me, YouTube is pretty consistent. Like, here's what I know for sure. It's based on human condition. If I put out a gear review, it's going to do better than if I put out a walk and talk like this. And I know that. But the thing is, like, so what I'm basically doing with this channel is we're doing a whole bunch of low lift stuff by doing these daily vlogs. And then we're going to have a higher lift kind of episode once every week or two that allows me to put a little bit more time and more effort in. But what's nice about getting people used to this idea is that on a day like today, when I have a wedding, for example, I can be like, yo, we got like we've got like 8 minutes to walk around. I got 20 minutes to edit and throw this up there so we can just keep the conversation going, right? It creates like a pretty good lifestyle. So when kids are like, I want to get into this, I can appreciate why they want to do it because it's fun and it's interesting, it's unique, but I think it's actually viable. Like if the model continues, if YouTube continues to do what it does, then there's no reason to think that a good amount of the population can't be making money. And think about this, like, so my whole family works in film, my entire family works in film. And I'm sure, and I've worked in film in the past too, which you might know if you've been on this channel for a while. I'm sure a lot of people, you know, kind of raise their nose at like YouTube directors and like people in the cinematography world getting into this via YouTube and getting into like, you know, traditional platforms. And you hear stories of people who don't know what they're doing, completely, you know, just getting ripped apart on set and stuff like that. But anyways, basically there is like this opportunity for a huge amount of people to be making decent amount of money off of YouTube. And in the past, that was all kind of gate kept behind studios or whatever, if they were in the film and television and all that kind of stuff. Or just in general, the idea that like we're all going to be advertised to all the time. Traditional media is boring and shitty for a lot of people now, and this isn't another opportunity. So rather than constantly being the one who's being advertised to, this gives you an opportunity to create something to be taking a little bit of that advertiser's money, you know, the money that they are constantly trying to take from you. So I don't know, I think it's kind of cool. And I see no reason why kids can't be like, I want to be a YouTuber. I think the questions to ask them is like, okay, what do you want to do? Why do you want to do that? How would you do that? Like, get curious. And that's something that our school system, I feel like, is not awesome at, is like being curious. There's just too many kids to be curious about them all. But that's a digression. Let's talk more about this with photography and videography. So if you're a photographer or you're into video and you want to start a YouTube channel, you know, the questions of like, when is the best time to do it? I should have done it 5 years ago. Like, there's that trope of that idea of like, oh, like that old adage, the best time to do it is right now. No, like the best time to do it was probably 5 to 10 years ago. Like if you really want to make a name for yourself and get good views and good money and stuff. There's better tech now, so it's easier to do. The barrier to entry is lower, but the rewards are lower too. Like no doubt, if I started the channel that I started, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, let's say 10 years ago, in the same amount of time that I put into it, I think there could have been a bigger hit, or maybe not. Maybe I would have just been toiling in obscurity forever. But I do think by now, obviously, it would be much bigger. And so, yeah, I mean, maybe start now. Maybe start now. I don't know. This isn't like a should you start YouTube or shouldn't you. This is more of like a it's okay for kids to want to be YouTubers. But we just have to be curious about why they want to do it. And that's just how you be a good parent and a good teacher. And yeah. So I'm going to go shoot a wedding today. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a hot day today, it feels like, because it's only 8 a.m. and it's pretty humid. So we're going to be wearing our wedding summer attire. I don't really have that, to be honest, but that's okay. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much. Hug your friends.